Okay, thank you very much for being here. This is the Sitecore user group in Brazil, SUG-BR, starting now. I would like to thank everybody that is here. I would like to thank in special my friend Himadri, which is gonna present about Sitecore structure logging. Himadri, welcome. I'm trying to unmute you now. There you go. I don't know why it's not working, man. There
Can
you
you hear
go.
me now?
Hi, Himadri.
Hey, hi. All right.
I cannot
Thanks
hear,
for.
man.
Can
Maybe
you not?
your audio again.
I can hear him.
Hugo,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you all
you.
there? I don't know why it's not. Just a second.
Yeah, I can hear you and hear me.
Yeah, Rodrigo is the only one who can't hear.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry. That was my fault here. I don't have an assistant here by my side, so I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Right. Okay. So welcome Himadri, welcome Hugo, who's gonna present here SearchStack today, and myself that I'm gonna bring here the subject of Sitecore IoT Hub. Welcome everybody, and we are now very close to actually one day after the end of the MVP applications. Did you guys submitted yours, folks?
I did.
Absolutely.
I did.
And
Um, yeah, it's exciting. And I got my trophy yesterday, if you can see it there. So
oh
that's
yeah, I know. I saw your Twitter. I was the first one tweeting about that, and some people got mad about my
Spoiler,
attitude.
spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
I need to show I was the first man. I'm really proud of that. Okay, and looks like 2021 Content Hub will be a very important subject. What's your thoughts about that, guys? Himadri first.
yeah, I still need to get to that. I have some idea about Content Hub. I started looking into it, but I'm planning to uh, learn more. I understand that, and everybody going towards the SaaS kind of application. So that is a site course thing, right? I mean, so I'm pretty excited about it, but I still need to learn a lot.
Everybody. What about you, Gu?
Yeah, I think that the mothership sent a clear message during the last symposium, right? There is a huge shift towards Content Hub. So I think that the next year, it's going to not be an option, actually. Everybody will have to take some time to learn Content Hub a little bit. And I'm included on that group. I still don't have any experience with it, but that's definitely on my radar.
Cool. All right. What about the virtual symposium? Did you guys like it? What was your impression about that experience? Welcome, everybody. Leonard.
Y- Hey guys. So I think uh, given the situation, it was the best thing that could happen. I mean, obviously, we missed face meeting people face to face. As you know, every year it was like a celebration. We everyone go there and meet people. That was not there, but still there are a lot of good content and presentation. I really enjoyed that. So yeah, I think I enjoyed. I tried to actually like you know attend as many as I could on the technical side of sessions. Yeah, but looking forward to the next year. Hopefully this pandemic will be over and we'll all meet in the Las Vegas, man.
Yeah, man. We need to repeat the last time in Vegas. That was amazing.
Yeah.
And and by the way, I understand why they are doing this. Some people can think it's just a little thing, but remember that every year we got the symposium flu. This year, you could not avoid that. but this year the flu is a little bit harder, you know. So yeah, so I guess they're doing the right thing. What about you, Hugo?
Yeah, I mean, it was as good as possible, right? You will never replace a physical event, especially because I think that for most of people there, the real reason why they are there is to meet people. It's not necessarily to learn something or to watch the presentations, but to meet people. So of course we missed that, but again, it was the situation, right? We need to deal with it. It's not an option. So it was as good as possible.
Yeah, I two things I like everything, but two things I think should be improved next to virtual events is first the partner pavilion was abandoned. Nobody was there because I think it needs a better front end instead of just a page with logos, you know, to encourage people join. And the second thing is that the network that they put together, I don't think that was good because people don't need a new network, you know, people need integration between the networks that people usually use. Fine. And what do you believe about the future of the, you know, the physical events after these pandemic's over? You have 3 minutes.
I can go ahead. I mean, after this year, I think at least for myself, I will give even more importance to those physical events because when you have them, you are just doing the normal things. You are going to those events. Sometimes you don't even want to be there, but now that we cannot go at all, I really miss them. So I think that we're gonna be valuing those events even more. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think same way because we are social animal, man. I mean, nothing can replace. I mean, we will probably see more and more online events. But but the things that we expect from symposium kind of event is actually quite different. It's more of interaction with people face to face. I
Mhm.
really missed it. I mean, yes,
I
I
would
hope
love
that
to
we will
see
be.
more. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I
no, I hope that we will meet again.
I would love to see some more technology being used to solve the problem of managing people physically, you know? And yeah, fine. And last but not least, because this is has, you know, everybody lives in containers nowadays. So let's speak a little bit about Docker containers. What's your impressions? Did you play with this already with Sitecore?
I if I I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, I have used Docker for other projects, not in Sitecore. I mean, it's a tremendous potential there. Um, so I'm happy to see that Sitecore is now supporting Docker officially. Um, I I have looked into it. I need to explore more. Um, but something that has to, like, it was quite obvious that it Sitecore and every technology will move to that direction. So looking forward to explore more.
Fine. Okay, guys. Right. Okay, we're over. Himadri, you're next. Thank you for joining. Your time to share your desktop.
Yeah,
Okay,
let me,
stop sharing, and I will ask you. You'll be the co-host.
yeah, it's still disabled for me.
What about now?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, please share your desktop and carry on.
Okay, what do you see?
I see your the Sitecore lady.
Yeah, Sitecore Betty. Isn't that nice?
I'll mute myself and take a look on the attendees list.
Okay, so I will present my slide. Let me know if you can see it.
I see the slide now.
Okay, thank you. So, well, first of all, thanks to Brazil Sitecore user group, and thanks Rodrigo for invite inviting me to give this talk. I have been every year I try to pick up a topic and work on that. like, for Sitecore, that the work I'm doing. Um, Last year it was identity server. This was I choose to work on structured logging, which I'm pretty excited about it. I have done some work, and I thought that is something that can add value to Sitecore. Um, so so I'll talk about structured logging and how we can enable structured logging in Sitecore. But first of all, why why even think about structured logging? So my biggest motivator is actually the pain that we suffer in troubleshooting um, applications, especially complex application like Sitecore. We oftentimes, the way things happen is that we focus more on the features, feature implementation, and troubleshooting, and logging performance. All this comes later, which should not be the case. Even if we diligently add logging in our implementation, because we know that we have to troubleshoot sometime. It is very difficult to actually um, troubleshoot an application from the using log. Not because we have not worked on adding logging. It is just the architecture and everything is so complex that getting to the log files and using it for troubleshooting is actually a big pain. So that's where structured logging actually helps. So that's the biggest motivator to reduce pain. So I'm kind of quickly go through a scenario which we all of us actually face in our day-to-day work in Sitecore. Um, and as you know, if you have worked on a Sitecore scaled environment, there are multiple environment, multiple servers, and things can get very complex. So for example, um, you worked on implementation, now things are in production, and you uh, published your Sitecore content, you actually deployed your code, and something happened in production. This is something that happens intermittently, and client contacts you and say something is wrong. And so first thing you will ask is to actually provide you the production log, because Sitecore actually add logging in the logs. It's not like you cannot add in a different sync, but usually it is in the log. So, and usually you will not have access to the production server. You have to ask someone else to provide you all the logs and everything, and you get the logs after some time, and you get the logs from all environment, all servers, and you go through bunch of logs that takes probably you will have like a 50 log file to look at, and you look them, and basically you find after 2 days that there is some site code item was not published in a particular cd server, and it's happening in that cd server. It's just a it's an overstretch, but this kind of thing happens, and it takes a lot of time to actually solve that kind of problem. And basically sometime it takes so much time, we just avoid looking at the logs. I mean, at least for me it happened, just don't bother looking at the logs. Look at site code, web database, and look at whether a item is missing, and most of the time we find things that way. But we are supposed to use the log. there is a systematic way to actually do the troubleshooting. And if we do that, we actually save a lot of time. So first of all, access to the log, and then when you get log file, it's just a bunch of messages. It's just so difficult to actually find anything from the log file. So that's the kind of pain that I'm talking about. So little bit of history of logging before I start talking about structured logging. Um, Logging was it we started using log long back. I mean, every language has a printf statement. So initially it was like use printf statement to troubleshoot things. But then we started thinking like, okay, so this is not like always will happen in my environment. So we have to persist this data so that we can go back and look at it. Okay, so we started persisting data, and same goes for the operating systems. Every operating system has some sort of logging capabilities and tools that you can use. For example, Linux has syslog, Windows has event logs. So you can go and take a look at those places and find out what's going on. But logging was like, always a kind of afterthought, uh, right? I mean, we we want to persist some data, but never there was a thought that how we are going to actually use this data. So it- if we put some initial thought of organizing the data um, when we are logging, it will be actually helpful to slice and dice that data later on. Okay, so the logging started with text-based logging, where we start adding messages in the log file or database or wherever, but it's a bunch of text. Okay, there was no organization, no structure. So that's where structured logging comes into picture. Okay, structured logging is not afterthought. Structured logging define a structure for the messages that we are logging. So since we are following a structure, it is useful. It's actually easier to parse the log. So we'll see some example of that later, but that's the core concept of structured logging. So to understand that, we need to understand what text-based logging is. So most popular logging tool is actually, or framework is Log4j, and Sitecore also use Log4j. Many application was built on Log4j. And if you look at Log4j statement about what Log4j is, you will see that it says the Apache Log4j library is a tool to help the programmer output log statements to a variety of output targets. Log4j is a port of excellent Log4j framework to Microsoft.NET runtime. So the statement is itself says like, it's just to output some statement to some sort of target, which can be file, which can be database, which can be a search index. But it doesn't say how to structure the messages. Okay, so it's just a text-based message that you can send to a target. Every log entry is a message without separation between key and value. There is no sort of key value pair when you are logging. So if you look at a text-based logging, it looks like something like that a message, it does have some information in it, but it's actually just a one line statement which contains all the information in the message. So there is no key value pair or anything there. um, so in contrary to that, if we so let's look at this message here, which actually um, this message, if I look at this message in structured logging, so um, I can take the same message and convert it into key value pair. So it puts, like, thread as a key, and thread number, time, and what time it is. So it gives a structure to the information. And in that way, structured logging is actually a different mindset. When you are logging, you have to think, like, what information you want to put in the log, how you want to, like, use key value pair. But the thing is, key value pair is good. It is good for machine, because machine can easily parse the file when there is key value pair. So it can query the data using key, but key value pair is not really um, very very useful or helpful for the human eye. It's not like, you look at a key value pair, it's not very human friendly way to convey a message. That's where structured logging comes, like, that's what structure logging adds, this idea of message template. So when you are adding a message, you will actually use a message template which will create the human readable message, as well as it will add the um, like, key value pair to the log. So we will see some message template later on in the example. So it addresses, message template addresses both the how well machine can read the log, as well as, like, whether human eyes can actually look at the log and find things. So one other advantage of message template is that since you are following a structure, message template is actually a particular type of message. So you can inherently create the event type. So you can actually search for some events, or the log events um, which of similar message type. So you do not have to actually add code in your application to create some sort of type of event, which usually we do in text-based login in log4net. So if you want to create an event type, you have to actually add code in your application to create the event type. Whereas in structured logging, you just follow the message template and everything will be done inherently. Besides that, log enrichment, you want to add additional information to the log, like, what environment it is, what server is this, what application is this. So those kind of or what process it is running. So those kind of additional information, you do not have to add in your code to add it in the log. You can actually add it. It's actually decoupled from the main logging. So as long as you enriching the log, it is going to add that information there. So we'll look at some code for enrichment later on. So that's the concept of structured logging. So next I will actually show you a demo of how troubleshooting is done in a structured logging scenario. I'll show you a tool that actually is called SIG. That something that can be used for structured logging. So SIG is actually a sink. Sink, you can think of something like appender. So appender, like, in log4net, we have file appender, we have database appender, we have SMTP appender, any kind of appender that you can add in Log4j. Similar concept here in structured logging is called sync, and sync can be a database, sync can be a file, sync can be a console, and seek is one kind of sync, where you can actually send your logging statement, logging events. So seek run in the in a port in a web, like, it's a kind of a web server where you send your messages, and you can actually go to the seek tool and look at your messages in there. And seek is something like, used with Serilog. Serilog is actually a framework built using structured logging concept. So first of all, if you send your messages to seek, it's actually runs as a separate process, so you do not need to go to your Sitecore server and look at the log file. So you can give access to the developer to seek URL, and then developer can go there and look at the log. First of all, that's actually a huge benefit, because so you do not have to actually wait, and you have to have access to see the log. So once you are in seek, then several things you can do to narrow down your search. You want to see only the Sitecore log, so your Sitecore application log, so you can select that. You want to see only the log from your local environment, so you can select that. Then you want to see only the errors, so you can actually slice and see only the error. And then you can add different type of, like, parameters here. Here I have some application that I am actually running in my local environment. So if I want to select this application, then it will actually show me logs for that application. So since we're talking about Sitecore, we are, like, say we are my local environment. I'm looking at all the logs from my local environment or the Sitecore application. And if I want to see errors and warning, I can say, like, show me errors and warning. Or if I want to see only the warning, then I can turn off error and I can see only the warning. So once I see see all the logs there of type warning, and I can actually choose what different date or time I want to see the log. That is also possible. So it will show only between that time. Now I can choose to select a log event, and once I see that, I can see different enrichment there, the application name, environment, and different information in my log message. This is not something that I have added uh, to my log statement. Only thing that is added in the log statement is actually the one that you see on the top. But then this is actually enriched with those information. Now, once you have that, you can even like, query, like, for example, I want to see all the messages of this type, and then I can say, like, find from template. So there is only one message for that type. So it actually shows it, you can really query and find out all the messages of that type. Let me see if I can find one which is, so maybe this one, if I am, so so all the messages of that type I can actually see with their time and everything. So there are several things that you can do here and easily narrow down the log and find out one that you are looking for. Besides this, you can actually create, because these are all data in the key value pair, you actually can aggregate this data and create a nice way to represent that using chart. So this is just very minimal, things that I have here, but there are a lot of things, there are a lot of possibility here, that a lot of things that you can do. So this kind of shows, how many events that was logged, what kind of events, and how many of them had been logged. So lot of data that you can aggregate and represent in your dashboard. So that is a nice way to find out how the health of the application itself. Um, so that's and there are alerts and other thing that you can create, and you can add alerts based on different kind of um, apps. I have here some Teams app, email. So when some sort of event happens, event is logged, I can use a alert to send that event to particular feed in Teams or email. So that is very useful um, for alerting people when some sort of problem happening in the application. So this is nice, right? I mean, basically, since the log is structured that way, there are a lot of possibility, and you can create this kind of tool, which is very difficult to do in a text-based logging. So that's the demo for the, um, so um, the thing that actually there are a lot of structured logging framework out there, like Serilog, Nlog. Um, uh, the one I like most is actually Serilog, which is quite popular. And in fact, Sitecore is actually already using Serilog for some of their modules, like, Xconnect and other things that came later. But core Sitecore applications still use Log4net. It is still Log4net. And in fact, if you go to Sitecore, you will see that there is no Log4net. What they actually have done, they took the Log4net source. Basically, they created their Sitecore diagnostic based on all the interfaces there, because that gives them more control to address different things in logging. So everything is in the Sitecore.diagnostics. But Serilog is nice, and using Serilog, you can actually create different things. I was talking about um, enrichers and sinks. You can actually use them to target your log in different things. Um, so so this gave me a thought, obviously Sitecore still is in core application is in the log4net, and it's a text-based logging. Can we do something to actually convert this text log to a structured log? And if we can do that, then we can take the Sitecore log and use a structured logging framework, and also use sync like SIG to troubleshoot Sitecore issues. So um, and then that's when I thought that maybe it is possible to create a Serilog appender It's a log4net appender. That's one thing in log4net, like, you can target the log to anything. So so it is possible to take those logs and target to a different appender, like, which is one I'm going to show, the Serilog appender. And Serilog appender is actually takes this log and create a structured logging and push that to the sink, that target that I showed, sick. Um, so basically, take the Sitecore log and convert it to Serilog format, and then enrich the log and send it to Serilog sync. That all it does. It's not complicated. So that way I can actually free myself to look at the log file, or go to the server, or like, and look at the log in a nice way, and slice and dice them, or narrow my problem area. So okay, so what I'm going to do is actually show you some code, and um, basically show you what this Verilog appender is. So here is the Visual Studio code, um, and let's see, can I actually? Okay, so a appender is something that um, you actually derive from buffering appender skeleton. Um, there is actually, the idea is that all the logs coming to this appender will be buffered, and then it will be pushed. So this is a very simple class with some properties here, and the main method that needs to be overridden from the buffering skeleton, buffering appender skeleton, is send buffer. So what send buffer does is actually takes the events, which is log statement. It's an array of events, and once it has the events, I can initialize my log configuration for Serilog. Um, in the log configuration class, you can add different parameters. I can say what is my minimum level will be, like, level, as debug info, um, warning error, fatal, etc. And then I can enrich them. When I'm creating this configuration, I can say, like, I want to add machine name, I want to add environment username, I want to add, like, how much memories usage is there, or thread ID. So all those information will be additionally added to the log. So that's the enrichment that I want to do. Um, Besides that, there are parameters to where to write this log. So I want to write this log to SIG, which is a sink, as I talked about it before and showed it. So I want to send it to SIG, and I want to pass the SIG host, that is a URL, and then API key for the SIG host. Okay, so these are the information that gets added to the property. Is actually the API key and seek host, and which is part of the Serilog appender config. And in the config, in the appender in log4net, you add parameter like this, like, API key, seek host, what minimum level. So this will be actually added to the property from the configuration file. So in my case, the log will be sent to this localhost 534 port, and with API key that's added in this configuration file. So that's where that's what the logging configuration is. And then I look at each log event that is passed in the send buffer, and I use another private method here to actually log that event to this Serilog logger. So it goes all to SIG. Um, that's pretty much it. And this config file is actually a patch, as you know, in Sitecore. So basically, when I deploy my code, this and the DLL and this config file, Sitecore actually um, add this config in the patch. So is there my Serilog appender gets added there. Solution wise, this is actually the appender project, and then like I have I have a sample project here, which is which is to deploy the code and the config, so from my environment. Okay, so once I deploy that, and my application um, gets deployed here. So so if I hopefully, like this is actually showing me 1232 when the last log was added. Maybe if I refresh this, I will see more item here. Let me refresh. Here you can see 1242, there were some log. This was added to Sitecore and is coming from Sitecore. Now I can go there and basically look at my my log. The reason it is actually showing up here because I have my Sitecore appender DLL deployed to this Sitecore instance, and the config file is there. So that's pretty much the demo. You can actually get SIG, download SIG from this site, which is free for local use. You can run is in Docker, or you can run as a service. There is no license to it if you are using for development. And if you want to use it in production, there is actually a license which is very, very like minimum, probably 600 or $700 a year. So it's nothing compared to what the uh, this tool provides. So that's the demo. Now I have a blog. Actually, there are two blogs I have written on structured logging in Sitecore. One is like talking about the concept, and the other one is actually talking about the Sitecore appender, Serilog appender. The source code is available in GitHub, so you can take a look in GitHub. I have it in the public repo, so you can download and there is a README if you follow that and deploy it. It should start working for you. And basically, that's where you will find the source code. Um, if you want to know more about structure logging, I highly recommend you to actually look at Nicholas Blumhardt's blog. He is the main guy, like behind this Serilog framework, and he had done a lot for structured logging. So it's a very, very nice uh, blog he has. Okay, so that's all about structured logging in Sitecore and sorry, log appender. Um, if you have any questions, I'll take some questions here. I think I have few more
Thank you.
minutes.
Thank you, Himadri. I would like to ask people if has questions, please raise your hand on Zoom. There's a tool to raise your hand. I will let you speak after that. In the meantime, I do have a question or comment here. I recently had one experience where I had to, demonstrate from the log files how much time some operations were taking, right? I wonder. I did that with PowerShell, and that was um, not easy at all because, like you said, it's text file, right? But I did have clearly, the entry in the log where the call is executed and the next entry in the log telling how much time it took. The script was easy, but took like a few hours to put in place. How this strategy would help? How, because I had to play with strings and lines, etc. How structures logged would have helped more than the traditional text logs.
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question. Actually, what I showed here is a bare minimum. I'm just taking a log and pushing that to structured logging way, and basically uh, sending to a target like SIG. That gives itself gives a huge benefit because you do not have to write a partial script or something, right? I mean, you can just go ahead and slice and dice your log file, log statement. But to your question, if you want to take it to one step more, that's when you will start thinking about how you are going to add your text logging. So because this is at the end, it's log format and it's adding text logging, it's the text, right? So you need to add little more information to it, and then it is possible to actually change the appender to parts when you are logging, so you can make it more structured. So you come up with some message template and follow the message template whenever you are logging. So that will be a lot more useful, just rather than just dumping the text log in the SIG.
Okay, I see. So you mean like you should, of course, because it's structured, you need to think about the structure that you will have. What structure will be useful for you in the
Yeah,
future?
it does give some structure out of the box because you can add enrichment and other things, right? I mean, you can slice because you are saying my application name is Sitecore. So you can see all your log that for that application. You can see your local environment or dev environment or something like that, right? It gives some structure uh, out of the appender itself, but then you can take it to another level if you add logging in a particular way. You are on mute.
Okay, I am sorry, because I can still hear me if I am on mute only at the tool. Any other questions, please raise your hands. Um, what about the alerts, Himadri? I saw that you had the ability that's on the tool itself. To
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think we have too much time to show actually how alert works. But basically the idea is that since you can do query, it part of the tool. So since you can do query, you can actually add alert based on the query. after so many errors, I want to send an email or send it to the Teams channel. Okay, so that all sorts of things that are possible.
Nice. Okay, folks. I'll be the next, so I'm locking the meeting, meaning that the number of attendees is stable by now, so anybody else will be able to join. Lock the meeting. And any other questions, guys? Just raise your hand. I will unmute you. No? Otherwise, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Himadri. You're awesome. Thank you very much. Himadri.
All right, thank you.
Be right back in 3 minutes for my presentation. Okay, thank you, everyone. Oh yeah, it says Cincinnati because it was a presentation I put together for the Cincinnati user group. I'm sorry for that. Pretend you're seeing SUG-BR. Okay, so we are starting. Sorry, folks, just starting my chronometer here. All right, thank you very much for everybody in this call. I'm here to present about this Sitecore module put together this year by myself in the name of Niche Tech, which is, you know, the Sitecore IoT Hub module. So I'll bring here some useful info about the concept of IoT, what it is, and how that can be used along with Sitecore for marketer campaigns and other things. Okay. Yeah, so feel free to check this article in Niche Tech blog system. It's a blog from October about the module, telling how it works and the concepts and where you can download and how you can install it. Okay. Trying to catch up here with all those windows open. All right, so let me get started here with the following question. Why would you need it? Okay, why would you need in Sitecore experience platform something that can integrate with IoT stuff? Why? That's the key for hybrid, physical and digital applications. Currently, as you know, Sitecore is very centric in the digital world. Of course, you have lots of omni-channel tools, etc. But there's still a high weight on that. Still lies on the digital world. So this module comes to fix that. Let me bring here a little bit of examples of that. So we got some branding, some important brands in the world already making digital campaigns using this hybrid digital and physical worlds. So let me bring you here one that is among all that I saw so far, the one that brought the called more my attention. It was an experiment and a marketing campaign called Heineken Experience. They put together this campaign to promote people in Amsterdam, which is the city that has the Heineken Museum and all the headquarters is there. So they put together this little bottle, which is a physical object, enabled to by having a few sensors, like it has a rotating cap to show what is the direction that people must follow. It has a GPS to allow people to navigate, to know where the bottle is and guide people through the city. It does vibrate in different rhythms to allow people to know when they are approaching hotspots. It does have an accelerometer as well, another sensor, very important to allow the bottle to know that it's in movement. So with all that together, they put together that campaign. And also this interesting video, which I made a summary of it in 15 seconds to show a little bit of how the company, how the brand used the IoT concepts to put together a marketing campaign. Okay, there we go.
Oh.
That was fast, I know, but this is, just to give you a taste of how the company, how the brand choose to use the IoT concept and the IoT tools to put together this experience. As you saw in the video, that's the IoT feeling, the IoT touch gives you, all the people in that video were young people. So this gives the branding, even though the Heineken is, since, I don't know, it's a centenary company, it has hundreds of years of existence. Still, it can pose as you are, your company, your brand is very young and up to date to nowadays technologies. Okay. All right. So next. The next one, the next example, the first example we were speaking were about, showing marketing campaigns. Now let's talk about something that is more a solution, a real solution, not a marketing thing, but still have to do with selling, especially if you are using Sitecore as a e-commerce CMS. So you will have here one example where, I'm bringing a low touch solution to provide enabling, zero touch, no human interactions selling. So here's what I call the smart bookshelf. It is basically an object that has more objects on it, as a shelf with objects on it. The shelf has sensors to allow me, let me go through the points here. So it does have a camera, as you can see, to recognize the face of the person that is in front of this bookshelf, this shelf, to know if he's an old person, or if you can even know if there's a children, if it's an adult, if it's a gentleman or a lady. You can all do that with face recognition. Also, you can detect the mood of the person and react to them. As you can see, there is a monitor here as well. This is how we are giving feedback to the user. And I'm giving like one example: a speech recognition and chatbots can be used in this scenario to allow, the object, the shelf, to speak to the user. Basically, a chatbot can react to, as you know, text chatbot, can be integrated with speech recognition to transform what the person is telling, is speaking, into text to the chatbot, so he can react. So this way you can, the user can have interactions and experiences without even touching the anything. There's also some presence sensors to react as, as a customer approaches the shelf. The presence sensor will be, for instance, responsible for triggering an animation on the screen to tell, welcome, this is the smart shelf. Here I have smartphones, headsets, etc. Just like a welcome message. Also, it does have some magnetic light sensors to react when an object is manipulated by the user. So if the object is manipulated, the user can, have on screen some feedback about that object. For instance, this is a smartphone from the brand X, YZ, etc. Also, we're gonna use here, of course, the rules and artificial based personalization, all personalization that we can, and that Sitecore offers, to provide useful info on screen. So if your user is grabbing a smartphone, maybe you have his face, his person, his purchase history. So you can tell, oh, this smartphone is similar to the one that you already own, or this smartphone has been, good. There are some evaluations about done by your friends from your social network. All that we gonna, takes place here. So as you can see, lots of us IoT uh, concepts, physical sensors, and some artificial intelligence, some technologies that are already there can be put together for amazing experiences. The other reason for doing this is, for because of innovation. Nowadays, there are a lot of channels, a lot of people sharing information about IoT. So if you go to YouTube, for instance, just go there and look for type IoT projects like I did. you're gonna find lots of videos, 15, 30 minutes, 1 hour, more than 1 hour, explaining in details how to put together your IoT project. So your brand might take this, surf this wave, and and show that you are on top of all that technology. Some very interesting projects like um, uh, 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 I don't know, a homemade internet hub, or a lot of interesting ways to put together motors, and other sensors, but also some very like here, a smart water tank, with real-time dashboard. That's amazing. But also very useful, like home automation, etc. Door locker, but also some not so uh, I would say not so useful. There's a channel I found in this process of researching, called the Useless Duck Company. It's a channel. They must have more than 1,500K now. These guys are put together very funny IoT projects. Like for instance, they have here a baby burping robot. They have here a talking banana, and this talking banana made a lot of money. If you go and follow the whole history, the story is amazing. He put together this banana speaking 24/7 for a week, and I was streaming that. Got banned from Twitch, and that's the banana. Got were on fire at some point. All that to tell that you can be on top of that. Your company can be on top of that. Also, that all those technologies, I still believe it's too early for them. Even though we now have commercial access to all that, I still believe it's in the early stages of that. And because of that, there's a lot of implementations, a lot of use cases that we didn't invent it yet. All that I spoke so far, I am a solution architect. I'm not a marketing specialist, but I believe that marketers can, even with their crazy ideas and dreams, can put together even more interesting experiences and applications and objects and etc. Okay, so those were my reasonings. So why do you need a module like this? So let me show now how it works. Okay, some concepts to understand the module. Let me go through the small pieces here. We start with this hub. Okay, the name is IoT Hub. The module uses Azure IoT Hub as a middleware, and Sitecore takes advantages of that, and it will be the hub. And the hub here is just a concept of just a grouping concept. Okay, so a hub can have multiple devices, one or more devices, and the devices are the real object. So you can think on devices as, for instance, a web app, or even a smartphone app, or a physical GPS, or a physical thermometer, etc., etc. So even complex objects, for instance, if you take the smart bookshelf, the smart shelf that I showed previously, that's composed by a lot of objects, right? You have a webcam, you have a monitor, you have the shelves, you have the sensors, but that all connect as a single object as well, if a single device as well, if your architecture needs that. The next is method. So devices has multiple methods, and the methods you need to imagine them as interaction points. So a hub has a lot of objects. You cannot do anything with the hub itself. It's just a grouping. Devices are the things that we are piloting or reading or writing to, and we do that by methods, by calling the methods that the device is exposing. Okay, so let me give here one example. Imagine that the object is, the device is an air conditioner. Okay, the air conditioner will have its methods. So the air conditioner will have 4 methods in this example. It will have a get state, turn on, turn off, and set temperature. So with the get state, we can read how the air conditioner currently is. With turn on, turn off, and set temperature, we can write to the air condition, turning on, off, or changing the temperature. Okay, and next. Okay, and like I said, we hear the Sitecore IoT module is using Azure IoT Hub as a middleware, and let me explain how Azure and Sitecore will be working together here. So the Azure, when I go to Azure, I have to create an account, and there's will be instructions for that on the article that I mentioned in the beginning. But I'll have to create one hub there. When I go to Azure and create that hub, I will go inside Core and create one entry, one item that will be my hub. There's a place for that in the module folder, and you link one to the other by the usage of a connection string. So I have the hub in Azure, a hub in Sitecore, an item, and the item has the connection string for the hub in Azure. For instance, here I'm showing in Azure, there's this Sitecore IoT hub that I created, and in the right you see Sitecore, the Sitecore IoT hub item. They are, I'm not showing that, but they in Sitecore I have the connection string for that. Next will be the device. So in Azure I create under the hub multiple devices, and I will do the same in Sitecore, creating items under the hub. Okay, so again, here 2 examples of devices in Azure: smart display and light sensor, and those are the equivalent in Sitecore. Under, as you can see, under the Sitecore IoT hub, I will have those devices set up, and they are again linked through a connection string. Okay. All right. Next, very important concept here is the 2 ways to communicate with from Sitecore to the device and vice versa. Okay. The module will take advantage of those 2 ways, and I will start with the device to cloud. So the device to cloud is when basically when the IoT device has something to tell. Okay, so the IoT device will send a message to Azure IoT Hub, send that message to Sitecore. The hub is just a hub, and as a good hub, it will just redirect the message back to Sitecore. Okay, and here it's a device to cloud. You're using this for things like when the device, imagine that the device is a thermometer, and that the temperature just dropped. So now the information temperature needs to be updated inside Core. So the IoT device will send a device to cloud method call to Sitecore. So Sitecore will have that information. And the cloud to device. The cloud to device is the opposite. When Sitecore needs to know from the device something, or sometimes needs to send a command. Okay, so here, for instance, the Sitecore calls a method in the device. The Azure IoT Hub will just repass that message to the device. The device will have the message and react to that by giving some response back, and the Azure IoT Hub will send that info to Sitecore. So you have the 2 directions, right? Cloud to device, device to cloud. And by using those 2 techniques, we are combining that in the module to put together two device method types, okay? I have the one-way device method, which is when the Sitecore has to send a command to IoT device. For instance, in this case, Sitecore is sending a message to device, and that's feasible for write operations. For instance, again, in the air conditioning example, I have here, I'm sending a cloud to device method to turn on or turn off the IoT device, okay? Because you cannot wait, that's more expensive, of course, because it needs to be done like in the execution or runtime, but you can't wait because you must send that info. That's more for write operations. And there's the two ways device method. So the one way is always from Sitecore to the device, and the two ways has a cache in the middle to make the more optimized. So it's more efficient because Sitecore is not requesting the info in the IoT hub in the IoT device directly. Instead, it will try to first get that information from the cache, from a local cache. So it's very much faster, because the local cache is, in Sitecore itself. Sitecore, or the device actually, will keep a device to cloud method updating the cache. So every time the cache, the info changes in the device will send that information to update the cache as well. And by the way, that we also doesn't need to be in real time, because doesn't matter if it takes 1 or 2 seconds more to know if a temperature changes, right? And if in case the cache is empty, Sitecore will send a cloud to device call to get that method value, and of course save in the cache. It's a little bit more complex, but this is feasible to read operations. For instance, when I try to read the temperature, and imagine that you are doing Sitecore personalization, right? Sitecore personalization is very common to have multiple conditions, right? So if your condition is sending a message to the IoT device, I cannot query, it will be executed multiple times when the page loads. I cannot query the device every time. That's why a two-way device method, it's more feasible for this situation. All right. Okay, so those are the concepts. And now let me go through what can it do, okay? The features that are existing already in the module, and also the features that we plan for future, okay? Let me start, of course, with what we already have in place. Personalization rules, I just mentioned about that. So those are rules that comes with the module. As soon as you install the module, you will be able to start using them to personalize. And those rules, those conditions will enable you to call a method in the device and also do something with the result. Okay, so you have here on screen those informations, those two conditions, and down below here you have the rule, and the rule can, as you can read, it's telling where calling the device smart display, which is my device, the method get selected object, and sending no payload will return the string property, the property current object is case sensitively equals to tablet 1. So here I have the rule, the condition itself is mentioned, the device, the method that I'm calling, whether or not I'm sending a payload, what's the property that I want to query against, the condition itself, the comparison, in this case, case sensitively equal to tablet 1 is the value that I want to match. So by doing that, you can read in real time or using the two ways. In this case, we're using the two ways direction, the method. Doing your personalization in Sitecore with traditional rules-based personalization. Here you have one screenshot, and just to show that you can select the devices visually, you can select the method that you're gonna call visually as well. That's all, in the module. Here is one example of the rules in the personalization setup. I'm just setting, if it's tablet one, the content will be, the data source item will be that. Okay, that was personalization. Next, very important as well, Sitecore forms. So the module comes with a lot of features to enable you to build forms that can query IoT devices. In this case, we start with a value provider. Okay, value provider in Sitecore forms, for those that don't know, is a way to enable you to load the form with some data already in the fields. So there's a value provider that enables you to fill that field with info taken from the devices. Okay, here you have the air condition form. There's a field called temperature. And when you select the field, you have the ability to select the value provider, get value from IoT device, which comes with the module. And using that, you're gonna have a few parameters here that you have all that info in the documentation. But those are to set up, again, the method that you wanna call, the device that you wanna call, the payload that you wanna pass, etc., etc. And then the info will show in the form. Here is two examples, of forms that, the temperature 25 and the room temperature 30. Those are taken from two different devices, an air condition and a thermometer. And next, Sitecore forms still submit actions. Those are, that ways to enable you to react to a button press. So the module brings you this execute IoT method that is an action to call an IoT method. So as you click in the button and you select that action, you can, configure the action. Here, as you can see, you are visually being able to select the method, the device that you want to call, the method from that device, the payload that you want to pass, and then, that you can send information from the form to the IoT device, basically enabling Sitecore forms to read and write to and from IoT devices. Okay. Last but not least, there is also a development API with the Nugget packages are yet to come. But the API enables developers to easily, put together with a few lines, get data from IoT devices and save data to IoT devices as well. You have here in the first three lines, I'm just getting the device and the method. So I have the method here to invoke, and I'm having the results here, and I'll be able to get the value of a certain property. And here in the last two lines, I'm doing that with dynamic variables. So you can select, choose the variables directly instead of using get value, which is more low level. So yeah, so everything, the whole API is well documented, and we're going through constant reviews of the API to make it even more easier, but still easy enough nowadays. Sitecore pipelines. The whole module was put together, by using the concept, the best, practices of Sitecore development. And of course, we have pipelines because this is Sitecore XP. Those pipelines enable your team to extend the module and do things when something happens in the module. So you don't need to recompile the module. You can put together your assemblies and assign to these pipelines. The first is invoke method, which happens when a method is invoked in a cloud to device way. Okay, so when Sitecore is sending a message to the device, there's a pipeline that you can extend to react to that. message received. This happens when a device to cloud message is received from the device in the Sitecore application. And that's as well a pipeline that you can extend. So those pipelines are, just extendable with patches like you do usually in Sitecore. Right. Of course, make sure to not remove those native ones, otherwise the module won't work. And we also put together, and it's there for you, some sample IoT devices, because the device itself doesn't need to be a physical object. You can start, and actually the whole brain of the devices will be software, right? So we have a lot of examples of devices that we're putting together. Those are all available on the Git that is also present in the article that I mentioned before. And we have those devices. So smart display, it's again the display, the shelf that I showed in the beginning. I put together this fully functional virtual display that enables you to see how the thing works and the communication. Also, there's a log, so you can see all that happen. Again, in pairs here, thermometer and air conditioning. We have command prompts applications showing how you can implement a temperature sensor, a real air condition being simulated in command prompt. It will respond as an actual one, but will be a virtual one. Hygrometer, which is humidity sensor to enable you to measure the humidity of the environment. And a grass watering, which is keeps the grass always green. So as you can predict, we are trying to build cases where I'm using the sensor to do something in reaction. So if the thermometer shows the temperature is too high, I can turn on the air condition. If the hygrometer shows the grass is dry, I can turn on the grass watering. If the light sensors, which is like intensity of light, shows it's too dark, I can turn on the garden lights, in the lights control. So those are all examples that you can find. Those examples are, all again documented and commented out. Those are fully functional ones, but again, no physical devices yet, but nothing is blocking you from compiling and upping this to a physical object. And for future, so what we plan for future, what we have in mind for the next releases. First is Sitecore PowerShell extensions. I think that, remember I spoke about the API that developers can use. We must provide that for PowerShell developers as well, because it's so, easy to put together PowerShell scripts, because everybody's using PowerShell nowadays with Sitecore. And because I love PowerShell, never mind. That's the biggest reason. Marketing automation. So I will expand a module. Actually, NicheTech will expand a module with marketing automations, tools to enable marketing teams to create campaigns, automation campaigns to react to IoT devices. So we're going to put together listeners to listen to devices, marketing actions to react to when listeners are triggered, etc. Those will be very important for campaigns. And whatever you have in mind, let me know. Okay, let NicheTech knows. Let Sitecore Singer know. Let Suresh Devanan know. Let our team know, because we're keen to expand here with more features in the future. Where can you get it? Okay, you can see everything in this link. Okay, again, it's, if you don't want to write down or take note of the link, go to the NicheTech website, nichetechinc.com/blog, and find in the list. But it's a post from October, the only one speaking about IoT Hub. recently. Okay, cool. So let me go to some demo. Okay. So I want to show you this. So this is the demo for the smart display. Okay. Remember how the smart display is. I will just bring up the functional one. Mhm. Okay. Okay, folks, sorry for the delay. So here is the device, the physical, the virtual device, and it is right now in communication with my Sitecore instance here, okay? I would like you to imagine that the Sitecore instance, what you see here on Sitecore, would be what the user will see on this screen, okay? So I will just demonstrate that. Let me close this a little bit. Right, and the user goes and pick a product. I will pick a product here. I just picked this smartphone. As you can see, Sitecore reacts to that, showing information on screen. This is iPhone 9, blah, blah, blah. I go and pick another one. I will pick this tablet. As you can see in the logs, the info is sent to Sitecore, and Sitecore reacts with this Galaxy Tab A, showing more info. I'll click in the, headset, same thing. It will react. Okay, so this is the smart display. Of course, this is not doing the face recognitions yet, but as you can see, the proof of concept is there. It quite works well in a feasible time. So you can have your Sitecore marketer team, putting together things like that easily with this module. Another one is okay. Yeah, so I need to start a little bit more. I will start here the thermometer, which, as I told you, it's a command prompt application. Temperature is 31, and I will start the air condition as well. Okay, it's not enabled. 24, I will refresh here. As you can see, 31 is the temperature. If I change the temperature in the thermometer like 45 degrees, that info is being submitted to Sitecore. I refresh Sitecore, I will see 45, okay? I can also send info. For instance, I will turn on the air condition, turn on. Okay, as you can see, the air conditioner reacted, and now it's enabled. I will turn off again. Yeah. Demo gods, But I bet you got the point already. Yeah, there you go. Okay, it was just halt. Fine. Right. So as you can see here, I showed, this is being done with personalization. This is being done with the Sitecore forms, the two biggest features in this release. And that finishes the demo. I would like to open. We have 5 minutes for questions. So feel free to bring up your questions, raise up your hands, please, and I'll unmute you immediately. Everybody knows plenty well about IoT devices and IoT hub, etc.
Yeah, Rodrigo.
Edipo, I will unmute you, man.
Hey man.
Hi, Edipo.
Hey, how are you, man?
Long time not see you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice
Cool.
mustache, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. We need to drink some beer sometime
Oh yeah.
after this COVID stuff, right? So yeah, basically I have two questions. One is which versions of Sitecore you are thinking to that you to work?
It works with Sitecore 10 and 9.3, so the last higher versions.
That's good. And the second question is about if you are you thinking some integration with maybe, I don't know exactly how, but some integration with Google Home or maybe Alexa or something like that, like some hardware stuff.
That's a great question. You can already do it. Okay, the module itself it's meant to be a framework to enable your dev team and your marketing team to put together your use cases. So that's plenty doable. By the way, there are already in the marketing some Azure IoT Hub compatible devices that you can buy. Google it, Azure IoT device, Azure IoT Hub compatible devices, and you can have some devices, that you can buy. Those are already compatible with the IoT Hub and will be plug and play in this case. Or of course you can, in the case of Alexa and the helpers, the assistant that you mentioned, we need, of course, to make a translation between the Alexa way of, I don't know how that works, to be honest, but the Alexa way of reading and writing data and send that info to the hub,
Yeah, I know that Google Home has some kind of API, but for the Alexa, I don't know too. Anyways, I think that's a great model. I just was thinking some stuff that we could integrate to grab some data inside Core, like for example, some e-commerce that use the mobile camera and can grab the how the people are feeling seeing the product or something like that on the e-commerce site, right?
Exactly. That's very interesting. And I'll also mention that with the COVID thing, the need for low touch solutions is peaking. So those are the tools that we need to put together, whatever the marketers have crazy dreams that they have, So the smart shelf that I showed, the smart display, is just one example of it's a shelf, it's a display that the user, it's basically self-service, right? Solutions like that will be much more common in the future, I guess.
Yeah, I expect so. I expect that clients buy this type of thing because it's crazy working with that, right? You can learn a lot of stuff and hardware stuff. I really like to work with hardware and this type of integration.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, thank you, Edipo. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Next, we'll have Hugo with the SearchStax. I'm glad that we have this. This is our main presentation. And I will pass now the authority to Hugo then. Hugo, you can go ahead and share your desktop.
All right, so let me share my screen. I think that you need to stop sharing yours first, probably. I don't know.
Just try to start it. See what happened. Stop share. Okay, you started.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I do.
All right, that's awesome. So hello, everyone. This is Hugo Santos. Today's presentation is going to be about SearchStax. So I don't know if you guys know anything about SearchStax at all. So I'm just taking for granted that you don't know anything, and I will be starting from the zero. Okay. The presentation will cover pretty much all the aspects that SearchStax can offer to your project. But before jumping into that subject, I will start by introducing myself. So for those who I don't know yet, nice to meet you all. Hugo Santos here. You can reach me on hugo.santos@conabus.com or on Twitter, hsantos_x. Basically, I'm right now, I'm the head of the search practice at Conabus. I have a lot of experience with search and Sitecore. Actually, I used to work for one of the biggest search providers for Sitecore. General background is a lot of years with .NET. I've been working with Sitecore during the last 6, almost 7 years right now. And that's who I am. Nice to meet you guys. If you have any questions after the presentation, please feel free to reach me out on email, Twitter, you name it, LinkedIn. If you find me, you can reach me, right? But yeah, let's move to the main subject, which is SearchStax. So what is this thing? SearchStax is a search provider, of course. The cool part is that it is Solr based. So most of the developers that I know, they are pretty used to Solr because that's the out-of-the-box search provider on Sitecore. And SearchStax is built over Solr. So if you know Solr, you kind of know SearchStax, or at least the basic stuff from SearchStax. It is cloud, which is awesome. So they have this way of hosting their own Solr that can serve us as search consumers, and it's plug and play. They basically created an infrastructure on which you can spawn a new Solr server within a few minutes, and then you run a very short PowerShell script on your Sitecore, and you are ready to roll. But why should you care about that? So why SearchStax should be an option? Because everybody's already using Solr, right? So it's not a big deal until you have to manage a lot of different Solr instances. That's the main point here. Used to be a problem for me, for myself, basically back in the day. So I think that the last time I checked it, the out-of-the-box XP comes with 13 different indexes. So you need to manage that manually. So you need to spawn those machines. I don't know if you're going to be using VMs or applications, but you still need to manage that. And then you need to install the Solr servers on each one of them. You need to take care of upgrading the versions and etc. If you can save that time, because that's not bringing value to the client, right? So that's basically creating an infrastructure, and then you can bring value with the search. If you can save yourself that time to focus on bringing more value to the customer, at least in my point of view, that's a positive thing. But not only that, SearchStax will also take care of backups, which actually are pretty important until you need them, right? So they are automatically creating backups. You don't need to worry about that anymore. As soon as you need it, if you have the configuration properly set up, the backup is going to be there. One thing that I like about SearchStax is also the fact that they don't have a query quota limit per month, because that's one of the pain points when you're using Coveo, which is an amazing search provider, by the way. But if you have a very specific scenario on which you'll be using, I don't know, your search provider to drive the entire content, so you're not basically bringing the content from the database, you are leveraging the index in order to do that, you cannot use Coveo. Coveo has a limit. So if you are basically triggering multiple queries for every single page view, you'll be over that limit pretty easily. With SearchStax, you don't have that. So you can get pretty creative with this tool, especially on search-driven pages. And it's budget friendly. Again, it's not a problem for everyone, but might be a problem for one of your clients. The fact that Coveo comes with a price. So if they are not happy with managing their own Solr, but Coveo is a little bit expensive for their needing, they can actually rely on SearchStax because the price is pretty aggressive. I think that the first layer is I don't know, $30 or $40 a month. That's for a developer instance. And then you have production nodes with dedicated clusters starting on the $300 a month or something like that. And you can get pretty fancy with it. During the demo, I will be showing the options, so you're gonna have a better idea of how expensive or how cheap they are. I used to say that all that is the basic stuff from SearchStax. So basically, you are using SearchStax as a Solr as a service. You have your Solr running on their server. You don't need to worry about that. It is 100% transparent for your Sitecore that you are using an external Solr instead of using your own Solr. Here, things start to become a little bit more complex. So they are not only Solr as a service, they have one layer of complexity over it that you can use or not. I like to use, actually, that's one of the greatest thing about SearchStax. One of them is the fact that you can create A/B testing. So using their cloud platform, you can basically create different approaches, so different search approaches, in order to make sure that you are extracting all the power that you can, and you can then analyze the results of those different approaches. So you can be boosting certain items here on A, and you cannot be boosting any items at all on B, and then you compare if people are using more actually efficiently your search on A or B, and then you can take a decision. So the data decisions based are always better than decisions that you are basically guessing, at least on my point of view. So that's a positive thing. Which brings me to the second point, actually, which is the search user analytics. So if you are developing your search using SearchStax and your search page is properly configured to use the analytics that they offer. So basically those are JavaScript calls. That's it. So you have your search page. Your search page is already calling some JavaScript when a new query is triggered. You call it and you call the SearchStax endpoint to log a new event. So a new search was performed. That's it. And then you do the same when someone clicks in a result. You raise another event to the SearchStax analytics platform, because those later are going to be used to create dashboards. Again, that's going to be part of the demo, so don't worry. But that's one of the coolest thing about SearchStax, because now you know for sure that people are using your search or not, and how they are using, or if your search is relevant enough or not, how you can change, or even which keywords are not bringing any result at all, and you should work on them. That's something that you can leverage, that you can take actually advantage when leveraging SearchStax analytics. And by doing that, of course, you improve the relevance. Because if you know that half of your users are looking for that product and you are not giving them that product, you can, guess what? Offer them that product, which would be awesome. That's one way of increasing your relevance. But there are also different strategies in order to do that, because they also offer the option of having on the same Solr, okay, for the same Sitecore, you can have different search models, which are basically a set of operations, a set of ranking expressions or filtering, you name it, for predetermined set of results. So you can have a search model for your, I don't know, shower products, and that search is going to behave in a way. And then you can have a different model for bathtubs, because you have this particular, I don't know, you have featured results, or you don't want to show results for that brand or anything like that. And then you have those two different models completely separated, even though they are queried on the same index. And that's awesome. I mean, that is something that it's part of the one layer more of abstraction. So it is not out of the box. You need to code a little bit, which is fine. I mean, when dealing with Solr, coding is part of the deal, but it's unbelievably good when you apply that in a right way. So you can extract more from Solr when you have that, when compared of just having your current or usual search provider and filtering and ordering by, I don't know, by relevance or anything like that. And for the developers out there, they offer a 14 days trial, so you can have fun with it. If you like it, you can try at least to push it on your project that you are working on. How to use it? It's cloud, right? So as I said before, it's 100% cloud. You don't need to install anything at all. It's a matter of going on their website, creating a new login. Number one. Number two, you create what they call a cloud deployment. So basically, you tell them that I'll be using a Solr. That's one unit of Solr. I want to host it on Amazon, Azure, or Google Cloud provider. It's going to be on the region that you want, and you're going to be defining how powerful it's going to be. So if it's a developer Solr, you can take I don't know, one gig of memory with a few gigs of storage, and that's going to cost you 30 or $40 a month. Or if you're creating a new cloud deployment for production, then you need something more robust. So that time on that time you're going to have different options. So you start by creating a cloud deployment for what you need. So if you are just a developer trying, you just need one. But if you have a proper project, probably you're going to have one for dev, one for QA, one for UAT, or even one for prod, or multiple cloud deployments for prod if the project is complex enough. After creating the cloud deployment, you're going to have one ID. So that's the cloud deployment ID. With that in hand, you are now able to run the PowerShell script that SearchStax created, which is very handy because basically what the PowerShell script does is you tell them your ID, your cloud deployment ID, your username, and your Sitecore instance name. And after doing that, it takes responsibility for configuring everything. So it's going to change your web config to create a few entries that SearchStax need. It's gonna change your connections string, so you don't even need to worry about changing the on-premise Solr to the cloud Solr. It does that for you. And if you're dealing with commerce or Xcommerce or even using Xconnect, it's going to do other changes on the configuration in order to be able to use SearchStax as the search provider for commerce or for analytics. So you don't need to do anything besides running the PowerShell script, actually configuring the PowerShell script, and then running the PowerShell script, and that's it. After that, it's a matter of doing the things that you are already used to. So you populate the schema, just like on any other Solr implementation, and you rebuild your indexes, and that's it. You're done. So I'm going to take some time to kind of go through the entire cycle for real. I will not be running the script because my instance is already configured, but it's going to give you a good idea of what exactly you should do when dealing with SearchStax. So can you guys see my Chrome? I think that probably yes. If you can't, just tell me. So
Yeah.
okay, nice. So here's the cloud admin platform from SearchStax. If you have a login, you can log in on yours, and then you can create a new cloud deployment, just like I said before. That's the first step. It should take you probably 5 to 10 seconds. So you just give it a name. You pick one of the providers that you like more or that fits your needs. Each one of them will have a different price standpoint. Region, you can pick the region that you want. And again, as you can see here, they start at $40 a month. And if you need more power, you can pay more for that, of course. And they do have dedicated clusters for production. So here you basically are taking an instance as much powerful as you can. You are not sharing any resource. You have full capabilities to kind of have unlimited queries if you're gonna get pretty creative with it. So the last price that I can see here is 1,500 a month, which is not a lot actually on that industry. And then one thing very important is make sure that you pick the right Solr version for your Sitecore, right? I had problems in the past with that. My fault. I was playing with Sitecore 9.3, and I don't know why I picked a 7.5 or 7.3, and it wasn't the right one. So the first, because during the PowerShell script, one of the things that they do is they synchronize the configuration, so the Solr configuration between your instance and what they have on the Solr cloud. And that phase was failing basically because I created a wrong Solr version. Once you do that, you will be able to open your cloud deployment. It takes, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes to actually to be fully operative. So you're gonna see that there is a status saying it's being created. So just wait a little bit. And one thing that's very important is that the Solr that they offer, it's exactly the same when compared to the Solr that you are used to. So it is 100% transparent. Your Sitecore will call the Solr with the same parameters using the same APIs. It's 100% transparent. So if you have a website working with Solr today and you want to migrate from on-premise Solr to SearchStax, it is transparent. So it's a matter of running the script and you are done. So rebuild the index and start playing with it. If you want to leverage a little bit more the platform in order to use the analytics, the dashboards, or different models, then you need to code a little bit in order to have that. But the first phase is transparent. So as you can see here, let me just get rid of this. They have what they call the Search Studio. Search Studio is a new product. They released it a few months or even a few weeks ago, I don't know. And that's where the second layer of complexity lies. So that's when you have Solr as a service, you have Solr. That's it. If you want to add more complexity or if you want to bring more relevance, you can then buy Search Studio, which is a different product, and that's actually created over your Solr. So if you have Solr, that's nice. If you have Solr as a service, that's nice. And then you can have Search Studio to kind of try to increase your relevance. Here, you're going to have different models and A/B testing. The analytics, though, is part of the basic stuff. So as you can see here, let me just find. Yeah, so right here, you have analytics. If you're using the proper APIs, you might have some useful data here. So here, my website's not using any of those. But when you do that, you're going to have a few numbers that I like a lot. Actually, the total searches. So basically, you're going to be able to see if your search has been used at all. Once you have few searches, one number that is very important is the click-through rate. So how often people are finding the results that they want. So how often people are clicking in a result. If that number is very low, you have a problem. You should address that because it doesn't matter if your interface is pretty or beautiful. People should be able to find results. That's why search exists, right? And once they do find the results, or once you have that number here good enough, it's time to take care of the average click position because you don't want people finding the result at the second page. Basically, ideally, you should have the result that they want between the first and the third result. Worst case scenario, the fifth, no more than that. Because we are all users, right? We know how terrible experience it is when you need to go through multiple pages until you find what you want. So you can start by making sure that people are using your website, and then you can increase the click-through rate to make sure that people are at least clicking on something. That's properly using the website, not only triggering searches, and then you make sure that you are delivering the best relevance possible. And all that is actually part of the basic package. Let me just move this bar right here. Once you do that, it's time to run the PowerShell script, right? Yep. So this is the script that they offer. It was created by them, so that's good enough, right? I did not have to code that myself. Again, that script, it's a little bit complex, so don't worry about reading all that and trying to understand. But long history short, it is actually that there we go. So I'm using 9.3 for instance, and when I'm using 9.3 and XP, so you can inform the PowerShell script if you're using XP and Xconnect and Commerce or just Commerce, you name it. They do accept multiple values here. So you start by telling them what is your account name, then the cloud deployment ID that I mentioned before, in your Sitecore instance name. And that's it. Sitecore version, of course, and XP. With that in hand, they are now able to go there and actually start by synchronizing the configuration between your Sitecore and their Solr. So instead of doing that manually, they do that for you. They create the cores, so the collections. They'll be empty, but they're going to be there. So you don't need to worry about that. And then they change the configurations, which in our case for 9.3 is basically changing the web config and the connection string. But if you're using, I don't know, Xconnect or even Commerce, it's going to be a little bit more complex. But don't worry, they will do that for you. If you want play with it, you can, because I mean the PowerShell is open. So if you want to get really fancy, or if you need something that's not here, I will give you an example, S6A. So if you are dealing with S6A and you need SearchStax to deal with it, you can just open your PowerShell script and change a few lines to add those cores which are not part of the out-of-the-box Sitecore. I did that myself, for instance. I was trying SearchStax with an instance using S6A, and I was basically trying to create a search page using S6A. So the Sitecore index wasn't here. I just added, and boom, that's it. All of a sudden, they are actually they are leveraging SearchStax for your S6A indexes as well. And after all that, finally, I took the time to rebuild my index previously because it takes a while. But once you do that, it's a matter of going. We can go here, of course, on your admin just to validate if everything is working and confirm that you have proper return values here when you query for all your results. And after that, one thing that I always do is I validate that my connection string is actually pointing to Solr Cloud. So if you open your config, your connection string config after running the PowerShell script, you will realize that your Solr search connection string is no longer using your local Solr. It is pointing to the SearchStax Solr now. And when you do that, it's now time to just confirm that you can search on Sitecore, because as you guys know, this internal search right here, I think that I will have to, okay, that's perfect. So that search right here is using the internal indexes, right? So you can confirm that everything is working. And since your connector string is pointing to Solr, you know it is using SearchStax. So the phase one, so using SearchStax as Solr as a service, it's going to take you probably 5 minutes. That's it. And then you're going to be able to work on the phase two, leverage different models, leverage the analytics and the dashboards, and etc. One cool part about SearchStax is that everybody will try to compare SearchStax with Coveo, for instance, or with any other search provider. The cool part is that even if you're using Coveo for content-facing search, so for client-facing search, website search, you can still have SearchStax for your internal indexes, because that's going to take you time, right? 13 different indexes, you take some time to make sure that they are working properly. So if you're using Coveo for client facing, because I don't know, you wanna have AI powered search or anything like that, you can still use SearchStax for internal indexes. That's a valid possible scenario. It's not actually it's not even weird. I think that that's probably the best one when you need some sort of more complexity on the client facing, but you still don't want to waste your time managing Solr. And that's usually what I suggest people that are already using Coveo and want to try something different in order to manage their Solr indexes. So SearchStax is an amazing option. I've been playing with it for a while, and I just have positive things to say about it. The team is pretty cool as well. So if you have technical questions, they'll be there to help you. And that's pretty much all I had. Anyone has any question?
Whoa, okay. I think, yes, we do. Himadri I do have myself a number of questions.
Sure.
And we have time to discuss, by the way. So I would like to Himadri speak. Go ahead, Himadri.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic presentation.
Thanks, Himadri.
So can you, actually you talked about A/B testing. Can you elaborate a little bit about, like, I know that don't have too much time, but still elaborate a little bit about how A/B testing work?
Yes, so A/B testing will be part of that Search Studio thing that I mentioned before. So it is not part of the basic package. So when you are using Solr as a service, you won't have it. But as soon as you buy the Search Studio, you'll be able to create different, how can I say that? Different models. So you have different offerings with different result capabilities. So you have here you have random expressions, and here you have filters, and then you can create A/B testings to kind of compare those, especially from a relevance perspective. But again, that's part of the Search Studio, which is not. I need to tell you guys that, but it's not part of the basic stuff. It's a new product.
Okay, understood. Yeah, so I was thinking same way, like, you created a configuration and that gives you different kind of relevance for the search, and you then compare two different configuration to see, like, which one is winning, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the cool part is that you don't even need to create the configs. There is I've never played myself with the Search Studio, but I was able to watch a presentation from the SearchStax market team on the Search Studio thing, and they showed me that you can use the interface to create different search capabilities. So you can use the interface to change the ranking on each field, on each indexed field, and then you can do that for each one of your models, and then you can have different filtering expressions for each one of them by using the UI. Again, you don't need to play with the config at all, even especially because you don't have access to the config, right? So instead of playing with your local config and synchronizing things, they offer you this amazing UI on which you can create different things. So ranking expressions, different ranking weights for different fields, and filtering expressions as well.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Cool. All right. Madri. Anybody else? Let me know. Okay, I do have a number of questions myself, but I'll give priority for our audience. So valuable one. Have a number. You have increased our audience, Hugo.
I know that I know this Leonard guy who is there.
Yeah,
Tom,
man,
I
it's
know
a
a few one of them. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, let me go with my questions. The first observation is I know in comparison, and you know a lot about Covil, and in comparison with Covil, also provides you the capability to compose your search results page itself. Visually that how that will look like, which enables you to even personalize that for like some people will see something, some facets others want. Does SearchStax provide anything like that?
Not yet. I know that they were working on something. Actually, the thing is that right now they don't have an integration, right? So they are not within Sitecore. When you install SearchStax, you are not installing DLLs on Sitecore, so they don't have access to the full thing. They are working on having that. So not only a crawler, which is going to be able to actually read from Sitecore instead of just receiving the events, the indexing events, but also they're working on offering an out-of-the-box search interface, because that's something that they're missing as well. So you don't need to recreate the interface on every single project. You can basically take what they offer from scratch and work it over it. So create your own CSS and etc. And during that discussions, there were some things about personalization, but the answer is that right now, no, they don't have it.
Mhm. I will keep watching your hands, okay? And right, you mentioned changes in the web config. What changes are that for SearchStax?
Good question. I just know that they're changing the web config because I took some time to read actually the PowerShell, but I wasn't even aware of the fact that they need those change config. So I can try to find it real quickly. So web config here. Let me share my screen again. It's gonna be easier if I show you.
The only one I can see and imagine is the Solr as provider, but we don't need to change that if we are migrating from on-prem.
Oh, I know what it is. They're creating a rule configuration or a base root configuration called search define attribute key.
Yeah, Yeah, they're setting the Solr as a search provider.
Yeah, exactly. They are
So
changing
you are migrating from Solr on-prem to Solr SearchStax. You don't need to change that at all.
exactly. That's
Just
only
connect.
useful if you are using a different search provider.
Nice. Hey, tell me about the content replication. If I have like a, servers in different coasts in the USA, like West and East, how does replication works? You know about that?
I'm not sure if I get your point. So you have the same content replicated, or you have different content, you want to integrate those.
Yeah, let's say if you have, maybe rephrase here, if you have a solution, a Sitecore solution that has some servers in the West Coast, some servers in the East Coast, or some servers in USA, some servers in Europe, right? And they are physically separate, but you have, of course, the content is the same among coasts or among continents, right?
Yep.
So you need that info to be replicated. If I synchronize here, I add something to the index here that must be there. That's what I mentioned about replication. So you mentioned that I can spin up easily, like one Solr in Europe, one Solr in Brazil, maybe.
Yeah.
Can you?
And then yeah, that's going to be easy, but then you need to manage the fact that you have multiple solars yourself, right? And that's going to be a little bit more complicated. It is still feasible, because let's just remove SearchStax from the equation. You are using Solr. You can do that right now. It's just a matter of making sure that you have your Solr updated all over the world, which we know that is not easy, to be honest, but it is feasible. It's just a matter of replicating all the events. Then you can put SearchStax back to the game, and it's going to be pretty much the same. I don't know if they offer some sort of solution for that, so some sort of product to that. I've never played that with myself, so I know that Tom is part of the SearchStax market team. He's on the call, so if he knows something about it, he can just raise the hand. Otherwise, I don't think that they have something.
Tom, if you don't know how to raise your hand, I will unmute you. Okay? Can I? You're not here. Okay.
Leonard raised the hand. He's also part of the SearchStax team, so you can let him
Yes,
speak.
I'm not on the technical side, so I can't really answer that question, Hugo. But I want to thank you for sharing everything about SearchStax. That was great today.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Tom. I have just unmuted Leonard.
Hey guys, just want to say thank you for Hugo. What you shared with us is really incredible, and everything that you've covered so far. Wow, it's exactly what we cover in any of our conversations. Yeah, and first and foremost is I realize why you're a Sitecore MVP, along with many of our friends and colleagues on this call today, because you and the team, Rodrigo, thank you as well, do a really great job in talking about how we can make Sitecore better, how other providers, partners work, and how it also helps you in your day-to-day. So just want to say, obrigado. Thank you very much. So always very happy to be part of this.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we don't have a response for the replication.
We're on here, but we do have cross data center replication capabilities, and then also, as you know, we have the ability for warm, hot, and cold DR. So that could be spun up if there is ever an outage. That could be spun up within minutes just through a DNS switch.
Yeah. With all that being said, I would say that, Rodrigo, I think that for the data consistent part of the equation, they do have something, because I know that under the hoods they're replicating the data, but the problem with latency. So if you want to have multiple search endpoints in order to reduce the latency, I think that that's going to be something that you are going to have to do that yourself with multiple Sitecore instances all over the place. I think that's an honest question. What do you think? Honest answer.
I think we'll have a follow-up article from this.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Let me see what else. The rest of people. Participants raising their hands, 0. Um, I am done with my questions as well. It looks amazing. Well, thank you very much. Let me just share my screen to finalize this. Um,
Oh, and Rodrigo, loved
yeah,
the music that you played before you start your presentation. I want to find out where we can get such wonderful tunes.
That's his playing actually.
thank you. Yes, that's from my band. Something I recorded in the beginning of this century, like almost 20 years ago, but it's still copyrighted free, so I won't be blocked by YouTube if I post this. The name is Syndrome, and the name of the album is Held in Mind. Okay,
Great.
I'll finalize with another song from Syndrome, which is Ready to Die. We're ready to finish this user group. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Thank you, everyone.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
I'm the one who waits for being alive again. Recall the past because there is no hope for being here. Day by day and night, the troubles cover on my head. The best I can do won't be enough to waste my time on it. And I will never say that it's over, my friend, because now I can see what's reality. I saw the bomberman blow into sky. The lost army just makes people cry. I crawled back as I
each a reason to stay here. Oh, my feelings tells me life isn't bad, and are we